Welcome to the Argument Podcast, everyone. This week we've got the most special guest we're going to get. We've got Daniele Bolelli.
I've murdered all the other possible candidates, so...
Yeah, so what?
Let's just go through your stats.
Yeah.
He's author of 2 books. First one, was it
On the Warrior's Path?
Warrior's Path?
Yep.
Another one he's just released.
Create Your Own Religion. Is that one?
That's right.
Cool. Sorry, we're a little bit stoned, so we're just going to have to warm into it. And then you've also, is it history or was it, is it religion?
Religious Studies, you're a professor of?
You name it, basically. I've taught just about everything in the book, I mainly do history, but, history of religions, American Indian history, US. I taught courses about history of martial arts, of all things. I've taught about, you name it, and I've done it.
Yeah.
Fuck, it's amazing, man.
You're a Renaissance man.
That's a nice way of putting it. The other way of putting it is called the bullshit artist.
Well, you're on the right show then, because I've lived my life on a thin veil of lies so far.
Make it till you make it.
You can pull it off.
But yeah, so, how you been, man? Like, how's life going?
All good. I just spent time in Italy. It was fun. I got to go back for a serious vacation. That was nice.
Yeah, for sure. How often do you get back there? Do you go back there often? Like, your whole family's there, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I was trying to go back once a year. Then, for a while I couldn't when my daughter was born and stuff like that. And now I would like to go back once a year again.
Yeah.
So that's the plan.
Have you ever been down to Australia?
No, never. Never been in a lot of places. I've been... Never been in I've been in Africa, changed my mind. Never been in East Asia, never been in Australia, never South America. So a bunch of places I haven't touched at all.
Yep. It's so weird. Like, as soon as we hear someone that has an accent other than like a bogan Australian accent, I just assume they've been everywhere. And, they know everything about wine.
An international man.
That's the idea.
No, but it's interesting. Like, you've been away from Italy for 20 years or something?
Yep, a little over 20.
Okay, cool. So, like, when you came over from Italy, what the fuck did you do? Because we're Australian, right? So, on the scale of, say, culture, we're just a little bit above America, and then you've got like that huge gap up to Europe. So, what would you say like was the hardest thing when you moved there, like of getting used to Yanks, because like the Americans?
When you move to a completely different culture, you have to adapt to everything, right? So it's the main thing that interests me was relationships with human beings, and California, LA in particular, it's very easy to make friends, but it's also contacts tend to be a lot more skin deep. It's like. In Europe, it takes forever to make good friends, and then these are people that are always going to be around whether you like it or not, really. In US, you either hit it off in the first 7 seconds you meet somebody, or by second number 8, they are gone and you'll never see them again.
Okay.
So it's a little bit fast-paced. It was weird, It was like I wasn't really used to that, and so it took a little bit of adjusting.
But what about the food? How did you deal with that?
Well, one of the things about LA is that there's people from all over the freaking world. So it's actually really cool because you get, Italian food. Clearly, for me, being used to good Italian food, it sucked, right? But everything else was amazing because, I don't know how it tastes in Thailand or something.
Yep.
But California Thai food is awesome to me. Or things like that. Being exposed to foods that I would never been exposed to in Italy was a lot of fun.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that. We've got a bit of a cultural, like, I don't know, what do they call it? A simmering pot
Yep.
of multiculturalism. And we address a heap of issues on racism on this show, or we attempt to.
We try to, yeah. We're not very good at it.
But yeah, we're only like 25 men, so we're dumb. We're stupid, but we're sort of at the stage now where we know how stupid we are, so we can move ahead. And what we've noticed in ourselves, like we've addressed racism from the go, but what type of racism have you dealt with over there, if any?
No, the thing about there's something somebody must have done some really good PR about Italian ethnicity in the US because, back in the early 1900s, being Italian sucked, right? It means you were some criminal, you were, it was really looked down upon. And then somebody must have really done good PRs because eventually what ended up happening is that today, at least on the West Coast, I don't know about the East Coast, but on the West Coast, being Italian is the cool thing. So, all the white people think that you are like them, and so you are an exotic European, and they love you. The non-white people, they love you too because they see you as not really white the way they mean it, as in of Northern European origin, Protestant, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of all over, people dig it.
I bet you could trace it back to like one Italian that just went around just fucking white chicks really well, and then everyone just went, "These guys are awesome. Bring them around."
Probably, but it works out. So it's like all the ethnic stereotypes work in my favors. It's like it's kind of like when I start speaking the way I normally speak, and you got where's your accent from, and you got some. I say, I'm from Italy, and then you get suddenly some 10 women who are all starry-eyed, and they're fantasies projecting it on you. And it's like, does it matter or not whether I am the ultimate prototype of the Italian stallion Latin lover? Who cares? As long as they believe it's true, that's all that matters, right?
That's it. Definitely it.
That's why I want to go to America to see if my accent would give me an upper hand.
You barely speak English, man.
I know. I struggle to speak English as it is, but you never know.
Yeah, this is the annoying thing. You speak English and type it better than us.
Well, I don't know. Depends on your definition of English.
This Australian is pretty low. I don't know what's going on there. But like honestly, I read a lot on like how learning another language helps your brain when you're young. Like because most people in Europe, right? I've been to Europe and West Coast and like a few other places around the world. And in Europe, I noticed everyone was like, even if they address me in a different language, say I'm in Italy and someone addresses me in French, and then I don't like, because some people think I look French. Sorry, I'm shitting on you, but it's always like they speak 4 languages. Like they'll just switch to Italian, and then they'll switch to like English, and it just goes on from there. Like so, and then I can only answer in broken English.
Well, you have hang out with a good crowd because a lot of people don't. It's like you definitely run into the good cases because there are plenty of people who speak their language and then a very, very tentative version of English. And even that, more like to order in a restaurant kind of thing. And that's about it. So you hang out with a good crowd.
Well, I'm pretty attractive, so it just draws them.
I was gonna talk to you. I've read On the Warrior's Path, and me and Trav were talking about it just earlier. That like, it feels like there should be a book that's compiled from just like great minds of men that should be given to like all adolescent young males, and it's like read this on just how to be a man, like. You know what I mean? Like it's like I think it's like lost in that there's that transition isn't there anymore. So it's just sort of like we'll be an adult now. And you're like, what are you talking about? Like I used to just like headbutt things for like years, like just being a child, like, and now it's like go live your life as like your dad or your granddad. And,
right.
So like because I think in your book there's a lot of stuff like there's a lot of those sort of lessons that it's like everyone should know this. Like this should be on a wall somewhere that you walk past on your way to school and go, oh yeah, that's right. Like
it's more like values.
Yeah.
It's the same with like how I always fucking bitch on about religion and how people should focus on the values and not so much the fine text. And it's the same thing. We're not being taught values anymore because our teachers are. Well, it's interesting. You can go 2 ways. We debate it because I wrote a rant about how gaming should be accepted on a resume. And because me and Laurie, all of our knowledge of like especially historical and ancient comes from gaming. So it was Age of Empires or Civilization or like. It's always just been from those games that we know what we know.
I was just playing Assassin's Creed 2 a few minutes ago. It's like the coolest thing on earth.
I haven't played the second one. I've only played the first one. It was pretty badass, though.
Yeah.
But you learn. You can see how a child would learn something in that.
Oh, totally. I mean, it was hilarious. Like I just been in Italy, a few weeks ago, and I was in Florence, and I was there and there, and I'm looking at the buildings, and I'm like. Hey, I was right there eating ice cream, and now instead I'm dropping from this building, killing somebody, and then running away. this is the best game ever. You know, it was great.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, I have played that one. I know what you're talking about. That's like the Medici family or whatever they were called.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like when you were writing that book, did you have like on the Warriors part, did you sort of have that in mind, like on like, did you just formulate those sort of ideas and like just from picking up bits and pieces from like over your life and put them together in that as sort of like not a manual but just sort of like a compilation of cool ideas that you could like apply to your life to make yourself a better person?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, because I mean, that's to me ultimately all the million different things I do. They all, at the end of the day, I always end up talking about the same things, whether I'm talking about martial arts or US history or religion or whatever. At the end of the day, the only thing that really interests me is how to elevate the quality of life, how to make things more fun. Whether the starting point is different. You know, in one case, all the examples will be martial art related. In another case, will be all religion related. But the destination doesn't really change. So to me, it's like it's easy to switch a hat and be into this different role because it's not really about being the expert in that one thing. I mean, yeah, you do need to have a specific knowledge in that field to be able to speak with this real understanding of it. But at the same time, the real juicy stuff is the same, regardless of which field you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because it's about life. And as you say, it's about becoming a better human being, which is really ultimately the only thing that's truly important. All the other stuff is just a hobby.
For sure. That's what I think it was when you were on Duncan's podcast, I think it was called The Strawberry Connection.
Oh, yeah.
That episode, I must have listened to that probably 100 times, I reckon. Like, just go back to it and listen to just the stories of when, like, you know, to sort of push forward. Because I was in the police and, like, I just wasn't happy generally. And then I think that was about the time that came in. I was about 2 years in and I was sort of like, what am I doing? Like, I remember, it sort of struck me. I used to walk past this, like a hobo sort of guy that had a guitar. And I remember I used to walk past him on my way to work, earning pretty good money, and I'd always see him and sort of turn my nose down and go, look at this idiot, he's got like $1 in his guitar case, like this poor schmuck, but he always had this huge smile on his face, like he was always heaps happy. And then I sort of had this moment, like I would just be down going, look at him, he's got no shoes on, this dude sucks, he's always smiling. And I went like, he's got the right idea, like he's got nothing and he's stoked. Like I've got this job, all this stress, and I think about killing myself every day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and then so that's like, that was a big change for me, and that was about that time I first heard that episode with Duncan, and I was just going like, fuck, everyone should be thinking like this. This should be like, that should be a Bible, like where it's, you know, you go to your how to live class and it sort of gives you that a different way to look at life rather than the way that I guess society says like, oh, you know, you're this age, so you're meant to be at this stage of your job career, and then you get married and have a kid, and then you buy a house, and then that's it. You know, you do that till you die.
Right. No, that's basically how it is. And that's why it's fun to have this kind of conversations, because, you know, these are the conversations that you should be having in schools, except that in schools, you know, you would have to have the teachers who can actually handle those conversations. And in most cases, they are not.
Exactly.
So having that kind of conversation in a different space, and podcasts are an awesome one for that.
Yep.
Definitely. Was it the open letter to academia that you wrote, similar to this issue that we're speaking about?
Yeah. Yeah, because, you know, academia, that's the thing. Is like the thing that pissed me off about any level of schooling, really. Anything, once you get past people teaching you how to read and write, you know, anything above that, I feel that a lot of it is a missed opportunity.
Definitely.
It's because I like the idea of what academia could be. It really pissed me off to look at what it actually is.
Yeah.
The priorities are highly misguided. You know, the way of teaching is, I don't know. I feel that helping students become better human beings is not really one of the goals of the game.
Yeah.
It's more about teaching you how to jump through the hoops so that you can get your corporate job, make money, do your thing, which, I mean, whatever. I'm not necessarily saying that's the most horrible thing ever, but I feel that there's not too much, we don't address the human being.
Kind of steers away from creativity.
Yeah, big time. I mean, they are designed. The reality is that schools are designed to make you average, which for 49% of the population is a big step up. But for 9% of the population, it's not. It's a way of bringing it down, you know?
It's weird that you say that, because I swear everyone has that story where, like, if you say, well, who's your favorite teacher? There's always one that they'll have, and I'm guessing you would be the one at your university where they go like, fucking beauty, I've scored Bolelli in my like history class, like I'm stoked. Like, you know, everyone has that idea. Like, I've got one. I'm pretty sure every person that goes like, oh, there was this teacher who was awesome. Like, I love going to class. You know, they believe they spoke to you like an adult. Like, just little
Like a
things
person.
like that where you go like, oh, that's right. We're in a almost like a two-way street. Like, you can learn from me. Like, I'm not just a blank slate to fill up with the book knowledge. Like, we can actually have a conversation. It fully makes a difference to your school day.
No, big time. And the thing that's weird to me is that it really is not that hard to do a good job in the classroom. And yet most people are awful at it because it's not even that they, like the thing that always puzzled me, even as a student, was seeing all these people who are teaching college and they seem like they have no passion for what they are doing.
Yeah.
So it's not even that they can, passing that passion to somebody else, that's the next step, but really just any student would look at them and wonder, why are we doing that? Because even you don't seem to get any enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. They just had to collect a paycheck, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, just the fact that if you are into what you're doing, if you are passionate about what you're doing, if you are happy to be there, that right there makes all the difference. Well, not all of it, but it's a huge first step.
Yeah, it's fucked here. I can tell you why. Fucking everyone goes to university now. Every idiot and his dog, like the 49% who've gone to school, go to university, and the first job they look at is teaching because they look at all the holidays. And so they count that up, and then they think, oh, because it is all right money here. It's not like fucking,
Sure.
Certain places in America. But they look at that and just go, all right, you beauty, I'll just get pissed for 4 years. Then I'll just continue doing that while I hold down my job as a primary school teacher. And so you get all like just the 49% that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And they're teaching us, and they don't give a fuck. I've been to so many different schools, and I can honestly name 3 teachers out of about 250 that it was actually appealed to me.
No, and that's how it is, really. It's the quality. The problem is, how do you judge? You can, through standardized tests, you can judge whether somebody learned their little lesson, but how do you judge if somebody's a good human being or not, whether if they are creative or they are amazing or they are... It's very hard to do in an institutional situation. So it's like, how do you decide whether somebody can teach or not? I wish they would give spots in teaching based on how damn good you are and whether students like you or not.
Yeah.
And instead, the way it is has nothing to do with it. It's where you got your degree or shit that has nothing to do with what you do in the classroom,
But that's
so
like,
a lot... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. It's like I saw a little. It was like a little photo on. It was on Facebook or something, and it was a picture of like a teacher standing in front of. There was like an elephant, a monkey, a lion, and something else, and then it said like, "Here's your final exam. Like, who can climb the tree the best?"
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, cool. So how's the elephant meant to do that? And it's like that doesn't mean
it's geared towards the monkey.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't mean that he's an idiot and he hasn't learnt well. It's just like, well, what's he going to do? Like, some minds just go, oh, I don't know maths. Like, maths isn't for me. I just can't do it, or things like that. And you go, there's no room in the classroom for people to speak about it. Like, they just say, this is the way we've been taught, so this is how we're teaching it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's I think is where the whole frustration for me comes in, of thinking about how it could be and how it really isn't.
Yeah.
And so it's annoying. I mean, at the end of the day, frustration to a point, because I still get to go in the classroom, get to do my thing. It's not a bad gig, but it could be a lot better. And the thing I don't incredibly care about these things, but it would be nice to actually get a more secure job for doing what I do better than a lot of these guys who do get the jobs and they don't know what the fuck they are doing.
Yeah, I can tell that.
Because, again, it boils down to, it's not about teaching. It's about a lot of other things, whether you are hired with certain perks or not.
Yep.
And I mean, even that, like, universities are always crying out there's no money and the state need to give them more money for education and all of it. And a lot of it is that they misuse the money horrendously. They have money, they just put it in all the wrong places.
Yeah.
That there are like 7 gazillion administrators making over 100,000 a year, and but then they have to cut a class that would cost them $5,000 to offer because it's like really silly stuff that way.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Are you familiar with the Aboriginals and like with Australia, like heaps well, or?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Oh, are you like familiar with the Aboriginals of Australia, like as the history, their culture, that type of thing?
Very superficial, a tiny bit, sure, but not to any depth.
Well, because I've just noticed this trend. I don't know if this is like a common thing, but it seems that we always discover ages after we've wrecked the shit out of like a civilization or a culture, that you find out that they knew a heap of shit. That they knew, like it's like the Aztecs and all that. How they had the obsidian on there, and they could, chop through a horse's fucking neck. And then, now they're working out. I think that the people in the Pacific Islands were actually heaps more advanced with their sailing and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And
that's how it is.
So just because we haven't, like everyone, this is a common joke, like a racist joke here, is that the Aboriginals 45,000 years all they invented was a stick.
Right.
But there's so much more, but we just fucked them so hard. Like, I'm familiar with like how badly fucked the American Indians were, but like really just smashed them really quickly here, and didn't retain any of their culture or anything. And so it's sort of like they had to have been doing something, and it all points towards the Dreamtime, like the spiritual side.
Yeah, they put more emphasis on spirituality as opposed to technology, it appears.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing that is like that's the problem of racism, is that you sweep aside everything that other cultures have to offer, and sometimes you sweep aside things way too quick, and you're missing out on a lot of possibilities.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's crazy though. Like like they've got this thing. Have you heard about the stick? Laura, you want to explain it?
Oh yeah, the
point of bone, is it? Or?
Yeah, like there's so much, like, because I got like really into like Aboriginal studies the same way. I'm guessing over in America there's probably like Native American studies and stuff like that.
Right.
And yeah, and I got really into it. Like, and we found out that somewhere down like my like genealogy, there's like a branch of Aboriginality that comes in somewhere along there. So it sort of made sense when I was like, I was really interested in that.
Right.
But I got into I was really fascinated with their sort of like their wise men, like the medicine men.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd have the ability, it seems, where even up to like within people's lifetimes that are still alive now, they would, it was called pointing the bone at someone. It was usually like a femur bone of like a young girl or whatever, and they'd point that, and then 3 weeks later or 10 days later, the person would just be dead. Like they'd come down with something that was sort of all mental, like
So yeah, you think like it could be nocebo or whatever, but it's also like it's fucking hectic when you can just point a bone at someone and they die, regardless of how it happens.
Big time. That no, I've heard of that before. I remember reading about that. Yeah, that's freaky, and and I wouldn't exactly be too quick to rule it out. There are a lot of people who are hardcore skeptics about everything, and skepticism is a healthy thing, but at the same time, there's a lot that we don't know, that we don't understand how it works and everything else. So I'm all for keeping an open mind before you piss off the wrong person and they pull out the bone.
I recently read an article saying that some guy believes that religion will be non-existent in like 50 to 40 years or something like that. I don't think it would be that quickly, but I do kind of see a trend with young people kind of steering away from religion. What do you think about that issue?
Yeah, but the thing is, one of the primary reasons why religion has been popular for thousands of years is the fact that we don't have the answers to things that we badly want answers to.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to know about death, and is there a logic in the universe or not? Is there morality in the universe or not? What happened to our loved ones who die? All of that kind of stuff. And unless we do have some solid answer to that, and there really is no evidence that we're going to get any good answers about that anytime soon,
yeah,
then people are going to want some answers, no matter how made up they are. So in that sense, I don't see really religions going away.
Yeah.
Unless human beings end up living forever, I don't really see religion going away.
As one thing I've always been somewhat critical of religion. Like, I'm not against it, or I just don't really have a strong belief in any one area. I've always been confused at how people can put so much emotion into believing one thing when you can't really prove it. Like, for example, causing wars over religion when there's no way to physically prove it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you know why? Like, or do you have any ideas why people get so emotionally attached to an idea?
Their whole life, right, is the meaning of life to them.
Yeah.
And because rationality and scientific evidence can't give you answers to so much, there's more things that we don't know than we do know.
Yeah.
Then people get very wrapped up in things for which there is no proof. And, questioning those things is not just about, some intellectual discussion for fun. It's questioning their very sense of identity, their very sense of morality, their very sense of what their life is all about. And so, they get pissed. They are too thrilled when somebody, and the least you have proof of things, the more you feel the need to fight over it, because obviously you're insecure.
Yeah.
So anybody poking at it is going to upset you way more. I mean, if somebody was to pick an argument with you, trying to convince you that there is no sun in the sky, I doubt that you would want to kill them over it, because it's like, I know there's a sun, you stupid idiot. It's like, whatever, you can talk.
At least you can see the sun.
Exactly. And so it's not a big deal to you.
Yeah.
But if somebody's like trying to poke you on things that you are not fully sure on, but you badly want to believe anyway, they are hitting you in a weak spot.
Yeah.
And that's going to piss you off.
No, that does make sense.
It's going to make you react harder.
Yeah. Do you think with the internet, like even the fact that we're like Daniele Bolelli's talking to 3 guys in Australia, and just the fact that
3 idiots.
Yeah. Like all the information that's available, do you think that's why there's that sort of trend with young people sort of going like, well, you can't tell me that the planet's 6,000 years old. Like there's dinosaur bones. Like, you can't tell me that's just made up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
asking someone to forget dinosaurs exist is fucked up. That's not going to happen. That's your whole childhood.
Yeah, and I mean, what's going to happen is that the more ridiculous aspects of religion, the most blatantly stupid ones, are going to go away. But then some of the same people who question those are going to freak out about that and about the meaning of life and all of that. And so they're going to change the face of religion, but many of them are going to flock right back into some form of organized religion to give a sense of certainty to their lives.
Yeah.
By changing religion to adapt, it kind of, to me, takes credibility away from the religion by constantly changing it.
Well, I mean, that's what everybody tells you, that religion is sort of revealed by God and fell from the sky. But the reality is that everybody, even the most faithful believer in anything, is making up their religion as they go, because they are adapting things, they are selectively reading some passages and skipping over others and all of these, and ultimately making up an interpretation that fits their lives, their time, their culture, and everything else.
That's what I've done.
Does that sort of coincides with your book, isn't it? It's like find out your own feelings and then apply them to your own life. That's sort of the idea, isn't it?
Yeah, because I mean, everybody's doing it anyway. Might as well be honest about it, might as well acknowledge that that's what we're doing. And then rather than having an argument based on, no, my interpretation is the truth of this religion, because who the fuck knows what the original truth was, is more about, does your interpretation produce good results? Does it make you happy, or does it make you want to slaughter your neighbor? That to me is more interesting of a question than trying to establish, impossibly, by the way, because you can't establish whether Jesus really said that, or no, my interpretation of what Moses is all about is the correct one, or stuff like that. Because you can never know anyway. And ultimately, who cares? Because maybe what they were saying could have used some improvement. Who knows, So I'm interested in just where religion leads to, not so much where it comes from. I'm interested in how does it affect the quality of life on Earth right now. And so finding answers that help us create the best possible path and the best possible life is what it's all about to me.
Yeah, I've definitely I've been lucky. I just sort of did it, but I did it in the form of tattoos. So I just sort of like one at a time, when I found something good, I just get it tattooed on me. And so I started with pranayama when I learnt that, because I used to get anxiety because I'm bipolar, so I had anxiety for years. And when I learnt meditation, I was like 18, and it was sort of like that, trying to like the life force idea. And so I got that tattooed on my under my right arm, and then I worked out through this fucking numerology thing. It's like some hippie thing. Like worked out my chakra, and it's the heart one. So I got that tattooed on my chest, and then that's got like all the lessons you're meant to learn around the edges of that. So I was like, all right, so I've got to watch out for these sins and these things. And then I got I read this book when I was in Greece, Zorba, the Greek, and I visited the tombstone of the writer, and on the tombstone he had written, it was in Greek, but I found out through the book what it was. I hope for nothing, I fear nothing, I am free. And so I got that tattooed on me as well. And then Laurie here got it on him as well, and then a few other people we know, because it's just like, it's sort of like a good saying. And it's sort of, we've got a friend who uses it when he's on the pokies as well, like gambling.
Yep.
It works. So like...
Hey, that's nice.
Yeah.
Using what you can to kind of get you through it.
And the whole idea is that I hope for nothing. So it's not that like I don't hope for nothing. It's more I don't expect anything.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like, yeah, you don't want to fear anything. That's just shit. And then you're free. So you can go along. But, yeah, I love it.
What feeds fear is hope, because you basically hope is wanting things to turn out a certain way, wanting reality to cater to how you want it to be. And inevitably, you're afraid that that's not going to be the case, and so that's what drives fear. If you don't have that, I mean, everybody's preferences, of course. You would like things to be one way or another, but you acknowledge that you don't control anything, that things are going to happen whether you like it or not. In a way, kind of start taking fear away, because you're accepting the fact that you don't have control, and that no matter how hard you hope for things to be a certain way, the universe is not really going to listen to you.
No, that's awesome. I love like that chain of thought. But what do you think about the new Pope? Because I'm sort of keen on him.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny, man. I remember I was in Italy now, and I saw some of the magazine covers of the new Pope, and he looked like, I'm sure he didn't, but he looked like he just had smoked the biggest joint ever. You know, he was big, huge, smile, like he was just done listening to Bob Marley and smoked a big one or something. And that's nice. I mean, that's different from all the faces of the guys who look like they have a humongous stick up their ass that have been up there before.
Yeah.
Does that make a huge difference theologically? I don't know. I mean, that's all to be seen. Some of the things that the guy is doing are certainly controversial among the most conservative, and they're very interesting to me. But in terms of concrete major steps that the church has taken to tweak their message of a theological way, no, I haven't seen that. But he seems more pleasant, that's for sure, at least visually.
At least he's smiling, yeah.
Yeah, that's something. That's nice.
Yeah, that's good.
I think it's Doug Stanhope that joke about. Doug Stanhope talks about the Pope, the old Pope being a Nazi, or he used to be a Nazi.
Oh, yeah.
And then he goes around going, I'd be much more scared if they said, hey, you know that new Nazi that lives down the street? I heard he used to be a Pope. When you look at their track record side by side.
Yeah, definitely.
I think they should probably get rid of the wizard robes as well. That would make a big difference, I think.
Well, he sort of has. He's done the new one's sort of doing that type of shit.
Really?
I think, yeah. He's trying to be less like
ceremonial.
rich.
Trying to be more like approachable.
He's trying to be more poor.
But it would be interesting to see where he goes with it.
Yeah, for sure, like Obama. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I want to ask you. You've had a couple of mixed martial arts fights. Is that correct?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. What made you first get into wanting to do mixed martial arts, and what made you stop?
Basically, MMA is interesting to me because it's scary.
Yeah.
It's very primal. It's any sport game. It's sort of a simulation of this major conflict or something. MMA is on a very primal level about conflict in the rawest possible fashion that you can experience in a civilized society. So it's interesting to me because it forced. I mean, my personality it always tend to be more on the sensitive, mellow, nerdy side.
Yeah.
So MMA is good for me because it balances out. It gives me an edge. It gives me a pragmatism. It gives me a more realistic approach to things, preventing me from getting lost in the clouds in my sort of romantic visions of how life should be. Yeah, so it's a healthy dose of reality, pragmatism, and I love it. As it forces you to deal with fear, it forces you to deal with some unpleasant emotions, but it helps. So that's part of what I dig about it.
Yeah, I myself have had a mixed martial arts fight, which is similar reasons why I got into it. Like I was always kind of nerdy growing up and kind of fearing confrontation. And
you were just weird.
Yeah, well, weird, of course. I wanted to kind of overcome that fear of confrontation, and it was terrifying basically, but it was the most alive I've ever felt. Like you can't describe the feeling. Like it was, as you know, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's the scariest thing ever. I mean, no, I'm sure it's going in a battlefield where the limbs are flying left and right, scarier, but that's pretty damn scary. So I can think of too many things. I mean, even like as much as you know that you're probably going to walk out alive and you're going to be okay home for dinner and all of that, you're still entering this ring or a cage in which there's somebody else who has spent months or years of their life training to be more effective at beating you physically. That's a scary thought, and suddenly when the thing goes gong and he's coming at me.
I'm getting punched in the face.
Yeah, he wants to kill me right now.
Yeah. And you've got like hundreds of people in the crowd watching you. You've got your friends and family. It's one of the most stressful events of my life, basically. Like it was really, for me, it was really kind of life changing. It feels like
the first time you do DMT.
It was like my life before was different to my life after. Like it was like a new stage in my life.
No, I get it, absolutely, because, on a very primal level, it feels like you are, it's not just about, a basketball game or any game where you score points or whatever. It feels like conflict back to where losing a conflict meant somebody comes in, slaughters you, kill your family, cuts off your head, drink out of your skull at a party later on. It feels like that.
Makes a vest out of my skin.
Yeah, which is never fun.
No.
I think that's what I think is the main thing about life is like getting in those situations where at the end, like either
where you have to be pragmatic,
just before it or just after it. It's like you fully are alive. Like you're not running on autopilot. Like alarm goes off. Like I started when like I was saying, when I got out of the police, I was like, I'm not happy. I'm just going to try and do things that I like to do now.
Right.
I started doing stand up, just in like the local stand up comedy scene in Sydney.
Uh-huh.
And like obviously it's probably not as intense as like you or Matt like having a fight, but it's still that sort of feeling of.
That's pretty intense.
Where it's sort of like you have to go do it now. Like there's no turning back. Everyone's looking at you and says, "All right, you stand up and show us what you got," sort of thing.
It's like, be funny, motherfucker.
They're very similar to a cage fight. Not the fact that you get punched, but it's being on show in front of everyone and like the fear of failing is like very similar.
But what Billy was saying.
Stand-up is like an MMA fight, but while you are delivering jokes, there should also be somebody who's trying to punch you in the face. Then it's exactly like a fight.
That's exactly what goes on, except it's like the rational side of your mind going, like trying to choke you out, saying like, "Get off stage, you moron! What do you think?
Right.
Get off here!"
Yeah.
No, but that's the best way to deal with fear, isn't it? Like to be pragmatic through it, to go through some fucking shit experience and then come out of it a different person.
Absolutely.
Because I remember I was scared of the dark when I was younger. And I used to have to walk home from parties as a teenager through this dark, scary area. And so I used to just run through there. And then I ended up reading this Fitzgerald novel where the guy just goes into the woods at night because he's scared of the dark and just walks in. And so I just did that. I didn't get any spiders on me or anything, so I was all right. But I just walked in, like closed my eyes, walked into the dark. And then after that, I was fine. I could walk home.
Yeah, there's
just have to wade into it.
I heard this story about in Tibet they would use this type of meditation where traditional Tibetan cemeteries where people were not fully buried, so the body's kind of sticking out there, slowly rotting away, You have, vultures and dogs going to eat pieces of the body there. So it's like a pretty intense kind of spot.
Mm-hmm.
They would have people go off, staying there the entire night to meditate in the middle of the cemetery. And speaking of facing your fear, that's pretty intense.
Yeah, that's not. That's.
I wouldn't be doing that.
That's nuts. Have you got any other stories like that just on the top of your head? I love those stories.
Which story?
Of just like, some, you always seem to have like off the top of your head like a story of some culture or society that did something hectic, and like you can just out of nowhere bring it up. Like I found out about you through Rogan.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing, man. Like Rogan's a really smart dude, and you seriously put him to shame. Like,
I mean, that's what's fun with those guys like Joe or Duncan. You can pretty much speak with those guys about anything. And that's what makes it fun, that, whatever, I love the flow, because whatever they throw at me, I can throw it back, and we can just keep playing back and forth, and it's comfortable, it feels like there's no uncharted water where suddenly it's like, oh shit, because ultimately it boils down to it's all life, it's all about, you don't have to be the expert in every single field on earth to smell where life is, where the intensity is, where the fun is. So even if you know a little about a field, you can still be comfortable enough to jump for the juicy stories.
Yeah. It is good. I think that's what makes them so good. Those shows is that like the comfortability, being comfortable. Like it comes back on the viewer. Like you feel comfortable being there. It's like you're just sitting in the lounge room with a couple of cool guys having a conversation.
Yeah. It's funny though how the style changes. Like, somebody like Duncan is gonna really look at you and focus, and is much more there's a certain vibe. Rogan is like being riding a bull on cocaine. It's like
intense,
jumping from one seat to another with this crazy intensity, and you're like, just to keep up, you're like, okay, go. It's like, it's intense, and it's funny, but it's all fun, just different energies.
Yep. Yeah, man. I love everything Rogan says, besides something he spouted off about masturbating on himself and then just going about his day. That's the one thing he said in my whole Rogan experience time that I didn't agree with. You wash yourself off.
I wanted to ask you, what were some of your major influences growing up that kind of pushed you into wanting to be like, wanted to write and martial arts and religion?
As far as wanting to write, both my father and mother wrote stuff. They both wrote books. They wrote articles for magazines and stuff. So writing was sort of around, was relatively normal within my house. And as far as the specifics, martial arts or religion or things like that, martial arts, I think is like every human being has to deal with conflict, but particularly every male, there's this stereotype about empowerment through not being the victim of physical conflict and all of that. So, everybody's watched Bruce Lee movies, everybody got that. And, it's sort of what pushes most people to start. And then, eventually changes. And then I used to read a lot of Zen Buddhism and Taoism and, philosophy and religion. And so I dug the whole idea of religions being, call it religions, call it philosophy. To me, it's all the same thing. It's about a way of life and how people set their priorities according to these ideas and how those ideas change people's life. Seemed pretty fascinating to me.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm guessing, was your home life, your parents were they sort of pretty open to everything? Like when you said like, oh, this is what I want to get into this, or, can I start taking karate lessons, or have you started, or boxing?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's like martial art. I actually started it in my late teens. I started when I was 17 or something, because nobody ever told me that I couldn't, but definitely my dad was very overprotective and very, oh no, don't do that. There was very much a vibe of
protect the brain.
Yeah, just don't do that. You're gonna get tired. Don't do that. Oh, why would you? It's like, and never say no. Like if I really wanna do it, would be no, you can't. But kind of putting that inside of you so you don't even bring it up yourself.
Yep.
And it was only kind of later when I started sort of breaking away and doing more things on my own that I started doing it, when in reality it was something that I've always wanted to do. But it took me sort of breaking away a little in order to actually do it.
Yeah, that's like the story of life, of everything. It's just like getting to that point where you can go like, no, I think I'm gonna follow this road. Like I like this. This makes me happy. I think I'm gonna do this. Like whether you can experience it as a teenager or I guess you just hope you're not like an 80-year-old man going, I really always wanted to be a painter and now I've got arthritis.
Yeah. That sucks. Yeah, that's why it's good to have the conversation about what you want to do with your life, where do you want to put your energy, and all of that. The sooner the better. I mean, it's never too late, and it's always good to be able to know that you can always, change if you are willing enough. But clearly, the amount of time and energy you have when you're young, you don't have it when you're 80. That's for sure.
Yep.
Just something that I struggle with. There's too many things I want to do. I can't actually choose one area to focus my energies on.
Me too. I know the feeling, and that's why, in fact, you have to start picking something. At least not one, because one is gonna feel limited, but at least 2 or 3, and then see if you can add more to the 2 and 3 as you go, or see if you can combine some of your other passions with those 2 or 3, and work at it that way. Because I know the feeling. It's like that's why when people tell me that they are bored, I want to beat them up. I'm like, you are bored. It's like I could live 50 lives in a row and still not get done half of the things I want to get done. Being bored just pisses me off. It's like, are you kidding me? There's so much stuff that I would
infinite
like.
What you can do.
Yeah, it's like that's why I don't understand being bored.
It's awesome. That's such an awesome thought. Of sort of like find something you like and then try and incorporate them together. Because often like you see people where they'll follow a passion and then things sprout up from that passion that they wouldn't even have known about. Like it sort of leads onto something else. It seems to be like a running thing. Like Steve-O from Jackass.
Yeah.
I read his book. I don't know if you've read it. I picked it up at an airport and I was like, yeah, this will be all right. Like it should be interesting. And for all the like craziness of the book, the overlying theme was he was pretty much just said, I want to be someone that gets hurt on camera for a living. And his whole family like say, how ridiculous is that to explain to someone, this is what I want to do. It's like everyone would be saying, you like don't bother, like there's no one's going to pay to see you set yourself on fire. And then, but he kept going, like pushing for his passion, saying, this is what makes me truly happy. If I can survive, I survive. If not, I'll go out doing what I like.
But now he does stand-up, doesn't he, as well? So he's a hectic guy.
But he's still, he made it. Like, he made, that didn't exist before. And now it's like, because he followed his passion, that thing evolved and created this whole genre that he was like at the pioneer of.
Right. No, totally. I just saw some of, it's funny you mentioned it because I haven't seen his stuff in like ages, and I just saw some of today. I walked into a place and somebody was watching it on TV, and I saw some of the things they do, and I was like, Jesus Christ, I forgot how insane is some of the stuff.
They're hilarious.
Yeah, it's obviously not. Yeah, it's not something that you'd say like follow that passion. You're definitely trying to like dissuade them from it. But if it's truly what makes you happy, man, go for it.
If that's you, that's you.
That's it. It takes different strokes to make the world go round.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. And also, we just got to, I didn't plug you or anything. I've got to drop your website and all that, because you've got the website and the podcast.
Yeah.
And I've just realized you've done another book with the Disinfo one. I didn't know about that one, sorry.
Yeah, that one is actually I still like it. I like reading it and all. I thought I had a good time. It was fun, but it's different from the other two, because the ones you guys brought up are my books in a deeper fashion. These were books that I've wanted to write, and I wrote before I had a contract to write them, before I wanted to do them. The 50 Things one is something that they asked me to do. So it wasn't really my plan. It wasn't my project. But that's more a book for fun. Like you read it and it's fun, it's entertaining, it's all that, but it's not my heart and soul. Whereas the other two books it's me, there's my blood in it. And, so it's different stuff. But, I mean, I'm still happy with having done it, and I still, I use it sometime in the podcast. Some of the stories that I used in there, it's fun stuff, but it's different from the other two.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've also, the one section I love on your website is suggested reading. Because, and you're so open too. Thanks for that. So many times I've tweeted you about books and things like that. I was reading Howard Zinn's A People's History.
Yep.
And you were just like, oh, yeah, disregard some of the early, the stuff later on, like more contemporary. The stuff that's a bit older is better. And then as I was reading through it, I probably had that in my head, but I noticed that a little.
Yeah.
And then also just all of your stuff on here. I've got like a few books off your website. It's so well done. You've got so many different books and genres and sections.
Yeah, I mean, that's why, because a lot of times I get asked, what are some of your favorite books? What do you recommend? So I figure, I'll get it done once and for all, so I can always add the things as I read more stuff, but some of my top favorites in any genre possible. And so I just put them up there. That way I can say, oh, check out this page. And just, that way I don't have to have the same conversation each time.
Yeah.
And have you got another book planned? Are you writing?
Yeah, I want to do something that's actually based on the podcast that you were mentioning when you guys were talking earlier about that episode with Duncan, Strawberry Connection. One thing I notice is that when I talk about philosophies and ideas and values and whatever, people respond and it's nice. But when I bring up something personal, people respond 10 times more and they get more out of it. And it seems to make a bigger difference in people's life. And so what I was thinking of doing is doing something where it's somewhat autobiographical, but not so much as in I was born in, none of that. It's not like that. It's really about one theme and one thing only, which is about fear. And it's about fear in martial arts. It's about fear in my personal life and what happened in my life over the last few years. And sort of all the crazy ride that has entailed. And so it's about, there's a bit of a memoir aspect to it, but really it's just about that one theme, not about my life in general. It's about that one particular aspect. And ultimately I want to switch, and I would like to get away from writing nonfiction and instead starting to write fiction. But I think that's at least a couple of books away. I think first I want to do this thing.
Man, sign me up.
And then once I'm done with that, then I can start thinking about fiction. But this is the one, because this is really the one where people respond the most. I mean, even like the podcast with Duncan, that one is like, I get more feedback on that than on anything else I ever do. So it's it tells me that touches people in a way that other stuff that I'm going to do are not going to. So it seems to make sense that if the whole goal of the game is to make a difference in somebody's life or help somebody, well, that's probably the way to do it.
Definitely. I think that's a winning idea for sure.
Well, yeah, that's interesting because we actually shouted you out on, not that you're like need a shout out type thing, but we like stated you as our motivation on the first episode.
Right, cool.
Like, thanks Daniele Bolelli and like Trussell for giving us the fucking energy to do this.
That little spark that you're talking about.
That's the good thing about podcasts is because they're so personal. You really feel connected to what the person's saying.
Yeah,
it really motivates you with your energy.
Like right now, we're a nervous wreck, man. We're all been like biting and chewing our nails and shit.
No, but that's what's fun, That's what's, and I dig that because people respond to something that's real. It's not just some little show you're putting on. Yeah. It's really who you are. They are putting out there, and people will respond to that. And if you are full of shit and you're projecting a fake image or you're doing, people will feel it and will respond. If you are being real, people will respond to that as well. It's pretty cool that way. I really like it. And I mean, I really didn't expect the whole, I wasn't as familiar with the whole podcast scene before ever being on a podcast. So my introduction was by being on one.
Yeah.
And actually was Rogan, if I remember correctly, was the first one. And okay. And that's what, it definitely opened my eyes to a whole new way to reach people. That's a trip. I mean, I look at the emails I get for the Drunken Taoist podcast, the one that I do, and I mean, I freaking like we're covering the globe. It's like a few days ago I got an email from Malawi, which, despite my pretty good knowledge of geography, I was like, I know it's somewhere in Africa, but where the fuck is Malawi really? It's like some of these things where it's like, wow, it's really a whole other universe thanks to internet.
Yeah, this wouldn't have been possible like 20 years ago.
Not even 10 years.
Yeah,
10 years
yeah.
ago, the best we would have done would be maybe writing you a letter and then luckily getting a letter back. And we'd say, thank you so much. Like, you frame it and that'd be the end of it. Go back and go be a bricklayer.
Yeah.
Shit, I remember when I was growing up, when I wanted to find out the news about the NBA finals, because I loved basketball as a kid, I would have to call a magazine that focused on basketball in Italy. And I would call them on that Monday so that they would give me the news about the game that had been played over the weekend, because they had talked to their friend in New York. That was the only way to find out. Otherwise, I would have had to wait until 3 weeks later when the monthly magazine come out telling me who won the NBA final. You know? And it's like, you think about it today, and it's like, are you kidding me? You know, it's like,
seems prehistoric.
Insane. Yeah.
But see, that's in Australia. We're faced with just idiots, really, because we don't have the technological disadvantage. We have a people disadvantage. So say if we want to watch the UFC, we can't. We have to go half an hour away, despite there being 100 pubs from here to half an hour away where we have to watch it. Then we have to go to the most Darrow area, the most impoverished area. Like,
how come?
The bars and clubs believe that it will kind of cause violence, like at their venue, but
they think it's for barbarians, the sport.
Yeah,
they don't think there's skill. They think boxing. I talk to people all the time. They think that boxing's more skilled than it.
It's just a misconception about the fans. But in reality, generally, like, the fans are generally people who train themselves, so they're a lot of the time respectful and not going to cause a fight in the crowd.
Yeah.
I think it's just that Australia, I think it's in Australia in general, it's just like just a little bit behind. Like, it's always just a little step behind, you know what I mean? Where it's sort of like, we catch up and go, oh, that's right, yeah, that's been going on for 5 years over there, sort of thing, you know what I mean?
That's the beauty of internet, is that even regardless of what the majority of people in your neighborhood feel like, you can have access to a global community where the thing that's weird in the spot where you live, it's totally normal somewhere else, and you have access to it.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a good time to be alive. Comparing it back, like, I know you sort of always get those romantic visions of going, I should have just been born in Sparta. Like, you know, I should have been brought back on my shield and, you know, live with honor. But then you go, really, my teeth would suck. Like, all these problems. You go, it's pretty awesome.
Imagine your pubic region and everything.
Yeah, it'd be pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome being alive in this time.
Yeah. And in fact, I think when people are either romanticizing or demonizing the past, it's always about, you know, they are projecting either their fears or their dreams on it. The reality is that human life has been a crazy mess of lots of highs and lots of lows at a lot of points in history, and clearly some points are better than others. You know, you live in a place in the middle of the plague, that's not going to be that much fun.
History's bipolar.
Yeah.
Speaking of history, what's your view on the Ancient Aliens show? Like, do you believe that aliens
you asshole.
affected our humanity?
Why would you waited to the end?
You know, I haven't, to be honest, I haven't really checked them out. I mean, I hear it all the time, right? Every other thing is like somebody telling, oh, you know, it's the aliens. And, you know, it's like, because I think the show is popular enough that it's mainstream pop culture, but honestly, I've never seen it.
Either have I. I just know it's shit. I just have to look at the host. Look at the host. He's a fucking weirdo.
I think it's just because you're an adult probably is why you missed out on that. I'd say just accredit it to that.
No, but I mean, the thing about the part of the story about the past is that it's more what we don't know than what we know. Yeah. And so, of course, people can run with the wildest theories because there are very legitimate question marks that we have no idea how to answer. So then it becomes like a religion. You know, if there are questions that have no clear answers, then you can make up anything you want. And how is somebody going to say, no, that's total bullshit, that can't be? Because the reality is like, well, then what is the real answer? And it's like, I don't know. So it's like, in that sense, it opens up things for the fact that people can run very, very far with some of this stuff. And clearly some theories are more logical than others, but the reality is that nobody knows.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thanks, Bolelli. It's been amazing talking to you, man. You're an inspiration to us. You're a single dad, and you find time to podcast with through Australians while writing books and teaching.
Anytime, man. That's why, in fact, at this time for me being at night, because I just put to bed my daughter, so now I can, I can hop on Skype and talk. During the day would be complicated.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, 100%, man. You're a legend.
Anytime, man. Absolutely anytime. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You have a good one.
You too.
brother.
Thanks, man.